Is self-diagnosis a thing? Well, while a lot of people I think will definitely try to counter-argue me on this, I can assure people that there definitely is a self-diagnosis. The problem is this sick society does not prepare us for the level of awareness, of consciousness, whatever way you want to call it, that one needs to be able to run such, subroutines of self-analysis that will return to you actual real results of how you are truly feeling. A lot of people live life and they kind of end up incapable of comprehending their own emotions, of understanding their emotions or the state in which they feel, because once you go through a lot of abuse, abandonment, and, well, mostly none of your needs being met, well, almost every human being ends up denying themselves, ends up in a state where they self deny, and, well, they become so detached from what they are that in the end it kind of doesn't even matter anymore. They just feel detached from their mind, from their emotions, from literally anything. It's like they are some kind of ghost that lives in a physical body, and whatever there is usually either a kind of pain or a higher level of pain, or, well, something that translates into a miserable experience, more or less. So, well, self diagnosis is a thing. It is definitely a point that one can perform from a mental, emotional, psychological standpoint. If a machine, like a PC for example, is capable of running self analysis and return to you like near accurate results, not always when you scan for viruses do you actually find one, not always do you find all the possible errors and mistakes that there may be working at the same time in that current running of Windows, but that machine, your PC, does not have any awareness of what it is doing. It is performing the same, let's call them rituals, let's call them routines, whatever you want to call them. It's performing the same algorithms it was coded to run. Your physical body is way more advanced than just that. It has 1,000 times more algorithms, but unfortunately, we are taught and programmed to embrace a lifestyle that, well, never suits probably even 1% of our existence. All of us seem to have, and, well, even feel that we have some inner talents, which we obviously kind of give up on because, well, the sick society that we live in never seems to give two hoots on what talents and potential each and every one of us has, instead focusing on the communism of everyone must follow the same principle, everyone must work, be taxed, and simply barely exist on the edge of social life. Yes, barely having any time to live anymore, barely having any time to socialize, barely having any time to focus on anything else but the mundane repetitiveness of life. Yes? With the mundane repetitiveness of life, well, everything seems to become more and more painful, and ignorance feels like it's the only possible escape. So, if one reaches a certain level of awareness, yes, a regular level of awareness, one can feel that there are certain layers of this, self diagnosis that are active in each and everyday life. If you have a certain problem in your body, obviously your body will tell you. You have pain that reminds you that exists. Yes. And, well, pain reminds you that you also exist. And pain reminds you that certain actions of yours are probably crossing certain boundaries which you shouldn't, which might be a reminder that you need to rest or you need to reassess some of your actions, let's say, or, well, the paths that one takes in life. Now, that is a low level, or, well, that is more like a superficial diagnosis, because in the end, when you have a headache, you don't necessarily know if it's something head oriented. In my case, for example, I don't get belly aches, neither from hunger nor from any possible stomach issues or the such. Usually, my head hurts instead. I've not met too many other people with this. I know my mother is similar, but other people, when they have belly aches, they actually have cramps and belly aches. In my case, if I feel like throwing up or anything, stomach oriented or intestines oriented, I usually get a headache. Yes. And the Chinese older medicine, yes, the traditional Chinese medicine, they say that, belly aches can be represented even by headaches or at times aches in the regions of the legs or feet. Yes, because all of those are interconnected. As a practitioner, well, I've learned some, I forgot what it's called, for fuck's sakes. Obviously, you always forget them when you want to speak about it. Oh yes, reflexotherapy. Well, you learn that I only learned reflexotherapy around the foot. And well, you find out that around the foot, on the different parts of its surface, well, each and every bit of your physical body is linked in there. So it also can act as a pinpoint, where in which part that you touch and massage of that patient's foot or leg, obviously, if any of those hurts, they might actually have a problem or a bigger problem regarding that part. Obviously, that's not a substitute for, medical expertise and medical checkups, but at least you can give them a hint of what might be going wrong. Now, if someone reaches a certain level where they are detaching from the mental noise that they have, they might actually figure out that there are layers within you that allow you to simply conduct a a set of subroutines that will say specifically and correctly to you what is wrong mentally, emotionally, psychologically. This also can go instinctively. This also can work in a intuitive level if you stay detached from the monkey mind and the noise that it confers, even if it is a juicy distraction for a lot of people. But if one can detach from such things for sufficient time, you call it meditation or whatever you want to call it. I prefer having no terms for it because I simply prefer not having any term for silence. In my inner worlds, in the culture that I have been transmitted by whatever beings or whatever they were, which I also wrote down in, well, several of my texts, and even my video game abounds in that. There is literally no term for silence. It just is, yes. It doesn't have any term because it doesn't require one. It is simply a unification with inexistence, yes. You simply give up on controlling or being in touch with anything that represents your function. Your body was designed to function without your awareness, so you can simply detach yourself from any sorts of problems, including the mind, which, well, will abandon all sorts of ideas that you have taught it to function on. So if you've taught your mind to function in a certain way, it will keep repeating that. Yes. When you detach partly from the mind, you will see those thoughts and the repetitiveness. So you will get a broader idea of what you have been teaching your mind. This can be used for self-diagnosis. Self-diagnosis can also work at emotional levels, at psychological levels. If you are someone who lives a calm life like I am, partly and mostly detaching from their mind, you will see that there are a lot of pains and emotions and feelings that will go through you because they have once been repressed and now they simply set themselves free because you no longer give them any attachment, any anchor to stay stuck within your physical body. Nobody said spirituality is something fun. Nobody ever said spirituality is something nice. It's never going to be nice. It's going to pull you in all sorts of directions. It's going to test each and every boundary that you have. It's going to test each and every bit of resilience that you have. So being able to run self-diagnosis from time to time is a nice gift to have. But why is it that this gift of us is not promoted? Well, wouldn't you want some pseudosciences to simply suddenly become irrelevant? Because, if people would become aware enough that they can conduct such aspects, yes, they will probably no longer even need to check a doctor. In many cases, especially nowadays when education and culture are dwindling and the quality of people is becoming more and more shite, going to a doctor at times might even feel like more and more of a risk. And I wouldn't be surprised if in time, especially after the pandemic, people would be more prone to choosing to die in their home than to actually attend going to a doctor, because you never know what kind of dum-dum you might actually be facing, instead of actually some professional. Yes. So this is something that I don't mind using. Self-diagnosis is a very powerful tool that I don't mind making use of from time to time. Surely I don't like using it as a substitute for things, but at least it gives me a certain sense of what is going on and what is not going on, or what is going in a wrong way with my internal sanctums, with my mind, with my psyche, with my emotions. Because as a man, you're always expected to do everything by society and the peers, the people around you. And you end up living life as if you haven't worked your ass hard enough for today, if you're not yet bleeding, you probably haven't worked much. And you end up kind of detached from your emotions, from your mind, from literally everything, and end up more or less like a, overtired zombie. So, well, as opposed to many other people, being able to bypass all that tiredness and conduct some sort of, you know, self-diagnosis is definitely not bad. How it functions, I do not know. It is something that my subconscious does and performs, which is actually, well, part of my intuitive nature, I may say. This is something that each and every one of us is capable. It's not that I'd be some kind of god working amongst mere mortals. I'm only talking about potential that each and every one of us can unleash, but it all matters on how open you are to it, to embrace it, to make use of it correctly. Yes? Because one needs a certain level of awareness, a certain level of calmness and patience, and, well, detachment from control, that the majority of people are not simply willing to invest that much into it. Yes? Hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated. Take care. Enjoy life. This being said, Ferenjan Board signing out.